We've just adventured our way through the Lost Ruins of Arnak, and we thought we'd answer some questions like, which is better, the analog version or the digital version? Which player count is best? So tune in to learn the answers to these questions and more here on Legendary Tactics.
All right, gentlemen, so Lost Ruins of Arnak is an interesting game. This comes from CGE, and we'd like to thank them for the review copy that they provided for us.
Yes.
Immediately, I think the first category we need to talk about this is components and aesthetics. So, Cax, when this came out of the box, I know you guys had played this originally in its digital form.
Yes.
And then we got the physical copy. What did you think?
Beautiful. Love the components. I really, especially the tablets, the arrowheads, the jewels here, the rubies, the meeples were over the top impressive. Just the size
gigantic.
Of them. Yeah, they were gigantic. They're huge, and that's awesome. They're nice and meaty. Your tracks here on the diary and the magnifying glass, just the cards, everything is just beautiful with this game. I was really blown away.
Everything seems really oversized to me. So it's like the gems and the arrowheads, these monster cards that come up. Everything just feels big, and I like that.
Pleasantly so.
Yeah, I would say so. So I think the artwork's nice. Did you find that the rulebook was laid out well?
Yeah, I thought it's quite easy to find things. There's good examples in there. I thought it was quite good.
Like, look at that. To me, that's a rulebook I can get into because there's lots of pictures.
But you love rulebooks.
Come on. It's just not like super dense text, so it feels to me like everything they give us is accessible and understandable. Absolutely. So,
NATO mechanisms.
I've always found there's a lot of cleverness to this game. The way that you explore the different sites, the way you focus on your research and journaling and so forth. And there's a lot going on, but it doesn't feel overwhelming in the sense that you don't know what to do. It's like you know what you want to do. It's just what's the best way to get there, and how can you do that in a more efficient way than the other players. So it's one of those games where you feel like you can do anything but not everything. And I've always appreciate that in any game where you feel you're not constrained, but you get to choose your path to victory, but there's also you're kind of working within the framework of the game. What about?
It's a game that feels like there are many paths to take. You almost get pushed into a path based on, someone else takes your compasses and that was going to lead to this, which was going to lead to that. And so suddenly it completely throws you off. And I would say there's minimal player interaction with it's essentially a multiplayer solo with a few elements of you got there first, or in this case, racing up the track to get the bonuses first. And once you get that lead, you can sort of compound your advantages. So so it's interesting that the game does allow for different ways to win. So
on that point, Flash, it is interesting. You said multiplayer solo, and I would really agree with that. However, when another player, this is what I found myself when I played, is when I noticed another player, say, moving up this track ahead of me a little bit, my mind shifted to that for a second. Like, oh, I better start racing on that track a bit, right? And then I would see someone jump over here and fighting monsters and thinking, oh no, I got to get to the... So you're kind of always
peer
being pushed
pressure
and pulled by your opponents as well, I find, and that kind of leads to a nice layer of where it kind of brings the group together.
It can feel like a game where you're always falling behind. Even though you may be the board leader, it feels like everybody else is doing so much better than you the whole time.
In fact, Nate, in the game you just played, you mentioned, Nate actually just said that. He said he didn't realize how far ahead he was in the game.
Yeah, or just how close I finished to Gastel's great score. Like I didn't realize I was doing that well.
Now, you gentlemen played this quite a bit before, just two-player. We've played it two-player. We had a great experience with our friend Gastel. And how would you say the player count changes the dynamics of the game?
For me, two-player feels very snappy and very, as almost doesn't stick around long enough. You feel like you just get going and then the game's over. There's also a lot more sites that remain unexplored and so forth. So there's a lot of more options. Not that the four-player seemed constrained, but it felt like a bit of a different experience in that sense. What about you, Kat?
And obviously the time frame too. With an extra player or two, it's going to expand your time frame that much of the the play length.
Well, and late in the game, it can get to sort of, I call it the mumbling madman, where you're saying, now I'm going to cash in my 1 gem, and that'll convert to this, and that'll get me 2 bonuses here, and you just are sort of, nobody's really listening to what you're saying, unless they're the rules person. And so turns can actually compound to become quite long once you've built up this engine, getting from one to the other, and you're waiting there ready to go, and then so there is the potential that in a bigger player count, it might feel draggy to some players.
Yes,
especially if you go early in the round and someone else has built that engine and is actually continuing on, and that actually happened in our game a little bit where I was out quick and then other players had lots of engine going,
which contributes to the feeling that you're falling behind.
Okay, go keep going. I'll wait.
But you won that game, right?
No. Thanks for that, NATO.
It's okay.
Winning doesn't matter. We had fun.
Well, let's move along to the digital versus analog.
Yes.
What did you guys think of that?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, for me, cardboard always beats digital every time. Well, actually, root might be the exception. And the one reason I think digital is a good way to go is because there's a lot of management of different resources and options. But I found the digital experience for me was sort of like I didn't quite know what I was seeing, and things like these monster cards didn't feel real. Like in person, it feels like you go there, there's the big reveal, the monster, but on the computer it just sort of pops up.
Yes.
And, so I would say in getting these gems, to me, a good portion of this game, I don't know if I would want to go back to analog. You'll get a lot of games in that way.
To digital?
Sorry, to digital, yes. Yeah. But to me, the analog, there might be some setup time issues. It's going to take a little while to get all this going. But ultimately, I think the payoff is worth it.
That's exactly my dilemma. And I was talking to you earlier, NATO, is that my dilemma is this game is so beautiful that I would want to play it in analog. However, the housekeeping and the setup time with the digital is such a bonus.
Yes.
So I'm
and
really,
the rules enforcement.
And the rules enforcement. So everything is much more cleaner on the digital end. However, I'm right in the middle.
You're either way. I'm right in the middle. I'm cardboard. You're the tiebreaker.
I think digital is best played as not as a way to learn a game, but as a way to enjoy the game after you already know it, and you can't meet up with friends physically.
Okay.
It's a great way to play it. Analog usually is better to learn the game because you get that tactile reinforcement of the rules and so forth, and the gameplay. So when you switch to digital, it just makes intuitive sense. But that said, yes, I do lean probably more towards the digital myself, just because I know I can get it more to the table more often, and the digital table, and I can actually you can play faster too. It's just if you know you can play a game in half an hour,
right.
You're going to fire it up, but it's to set it up may take half an hour.
Right
here.
So different strokes for different folks.
Yes.
Looks like we're right across the spectrum on that one.
We are. Yes, absolutely.
So there you go. There's no wrong answer.
No, we always love a good theme, especially Cax and I are really into themes of games. Robinson Crusoe is one of your favorites. And I know you wanted to get into this one because of that adventuring sort of Indiana Jones feel.
Exactly.
Did it meet your expectations thematically?
Absolutely. It hit home for me. As you mentioned earlier, the monster bit there, where you're revealing monsters, you're going through the idle tracks, and you're trying to like rise those ranks and journaling and investigating, and just everything about it really just immersed you in that Indiana Jones kind of adventurer's feel. How about yourself, Flash?
I think you've covered it. I think it feels, I mean, you could reskin this as a space game and be like, here are different planets with different creatures and, star falls or whatever could be on the board. But to me, I think the way to play this game is you're exploring, you're searching, and I think doing that on our planet, or do you think this is on planet Earth?
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure. I would say so, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Are you saying these giant spiders aren't on planet Earth? Come on. This weird dragon-like thing. And
clearly.
Giant boards.
Okay. So this is an alternative.
I saw one of those the other day in my backyard. Come on.
I fed it.
But it feels otherwise earthly. Like
it's a bit fantastical, but yes.
Creatures from the abyss type thing.
Yeah.
But I think it was good.
Well, I think it reflects that kind of Indiana Jones aesthetic where anything can kind of happen, right? Like you're exploring a new, unexplored part of Earth or whatever, and there's maybe some weird stuff. So it calls back to those maybe early maps of where, you know, they drew a map in the 1500s and it had sea monsters here and the Kraken is there and that
the
sort of thing.
kaiju awakening over there.
But it kind of calls back to that type of thing, that kind of aesthetic and that kind of thinking. So
why don't we look really quickly at upside downside here?
Yeah, we like to give a balanced review. So are there any criticisms we have of the game?
Cax.
You know what? For me, the only glaring one is the setup time, I think, and maybe the rules enforcement to a point where you have to really be, you know, aware of cognizant of the rules enforcement of the game. But besides, the setup time is really the big one, and it takes a bit of time to get this thing organized and set. But it's a lot of fun once you're in there.
For me, I think, especially in a 4-player game, it's the downtime between turns. Especially, usually first, second round are pretty good. They're pretty snappy. But the last 2 rounds, typically, you have everyone doing their own thing, as you said, the mumbling madman phenomenon. And I was sitting there, I had my next 2 or 3 moves planned, and I'm just waiting for everyone to do their thing. And then I do my thing immediately, boom, 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 and then we start the process again. So that for me was the only downside. And a 2-player, it's much less of a problem. So
I have 2 main criticisms. The first is not a fault of the game. It's just I don't like resource exchange games. Get 2 of these crystals to trade for 1 of those crystals, upgrade to this, and you get 1 victory point kind of thing. And that's not my type of game. And so that's a downside. And I think why I don't like that is there's a bit of a barrier to entry. So as a newer player to the game, I'm sitting there with 3 compasses, 2 gold, and a crystal going, what can I do with this? Where do I go? I guess I could do this. I guess I could do that. What does it get me? You know, there's sort of this, and that's the fun of the puzzle. So for people who love this game, they're probably out there saying that's why I love this game, because of that decision making. But for me, it's a downside to just be sort of stumbling along and feeling a lack of purpose, I guess. So, but that would just, I think, be for newer gamers. Once you get more experience with this, I think that would overcome the problem.
I wonder if repeated plays would actually change your perspective on that.
I don't think I'll ever get there. I'm not a resource exchange kind of guy. So as far as resource exchange games go, I think it's fine. It's not a terrible experience, but it's just not my kind of game.
Okay, very good enough.
So why don't we rate the game now? So we're going to give it a thumbs up if we loved it and want to keep playing it a lot. Neutral. Or thumbs down if it's one we don't really want to play again.
Okay.
Are you guys ready?
1, 2, 3,
go. Reveal. All right, 2 thumbs and a neutral.
Nice. 2.5.
A neutral rating from Flash in this case is actually pretty good.
Yeah, that's like 3.5 gold stars.
It's not bad. So tell us, would you give it a thumbs up, a neutral, thumbs down? What do you love? What do you not love if you haven't played it? And we'll also be checking out both of the expansions. But in the meantime,
get out there,
get gaming,
and be legendary.